Hi, Matt Stait here from the Festival of Martial Arts. And today we have with us Terry Birkett. Hi, Terry, how are you?
Hi, Matt. How's it going?
Oh, it's great. Thanks for coming along. So, the way that I start these is always the same. If you couldn't just give us a brief overview of your history, who you are, just for the people that may not have met you yet.
Right. So I've been doing Kyokushin for 31 years now, across training a lot of other stuff as well. Um, my work background is in security, like yourself. So 10 solid years on the door in Cardiff, um, plus also close protection then and security management events, that sort of stuff that we deal with now. So I don't know if you're familiar with Kyokushin. Are you familiar
Yes,
with
yes.
Kyokushin? So obviously the style Kyokushin is a full contact style of karate. So it's known for its hard training, hard fighting. Um, that sort of training can put you at a good advantage in the door world. So it was very much that, for want of a better phrase, I'd say elitist type training, because that's what it is with Kyokushin. You get very hard, very strong, and then taking that out of a tournament arena that I was in and putting it into a real arena. That's what I developed my sort of shtick today. Really is, I don't do sport karate, we do real karate. We do karate. One of my taglines was real karate for real fights, not tournament karate, because that's good and it'll make you strong, but it won't necessarily help you outside when shit goes down for real, as you know.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it's one of those, isn't it? It seems to be, it seems to sort of like with fashionable things, it comes in and out, it comes and it goes, and the reality aspect of things comes in and out. I mean, Kyokushin, my understanding of it, I don't have a great deal of knowledge. I've never really practiced it to any great length. I did karate, but a different version for many years. But my understanding of it is that it's always been an incredibly tough discipline,
Yeah.
and it's even the sporting elements of it, they're no nonsense, and you'll know.
Oh yeah, Kyokushin has always been very hard training, very hard fighting,
Mm,
but the sort of Kyokushin in its origin, because it's only been around since the late 50s,
mm,
early 60s. So Kyokushin, where you got the likes of John Bloomin and those training in Japan in Hombu with Masayama. Um, it was very much an all-encompassing type style then. They did do throwing, they did do head punching, they did do grabbing and grappling. It was all part of the training, all part of the sparring. It was quite normal to wrap their hands in some towels and
mm,
then beat the crap out of each other. It was like proper full-on fighting in the dojos.
mm.
Um, then Oyama wanted a big tournament, a world tournament that we had in the early 70s. And then that brought in the era of, I'd say, sport karate, because the training started changing, where people used to train for everything.
Mm.
The tournament rules were, right, there's no grappling as such. You could still throw in a tournament. You could grab the head and pull down a knee. There was no punching to the face because it was bare knuckle. Oyama wanted to keep it bare knuckle. There's back then there was a lot of rules of fighting bare knuckle to the face. You wasn't allowed. It's considered like a blood sport.
Yeah.
So in lots of places you weren't allowed to punch bare knuckle to the face. And when you are punching bare knuckle to the face, there's no longevity in the fight.
Mm.
You have one hard round, you smash your hands to bits, you smash their face to bits, and then quite often you can't go round on the second round anyway because you're messed up.
Mm.
So he wanted a style of fighting where you could go all out 100% on each other, but still have a little bit of longevity in it. Not do 4 or 5 rounds and carry
Mm.
on going. So that's why they didn't have the face punching element in only in the tournament set in mind. People have this misconception that there's no face punching in Kyokushin. There's no face punching in knockdown, which is the tournament rule set. Kyokushin as the style has everything. It has all
Yeah.
those stuff. So the 70s, that tournament era came about, and people started training just for tournaments. So they
Mm.
would forget that the real defense work stuff, and they would just be doing what they need to do to win tournaments. So sort of through the 70s, Kyokushin came on the scene. Through the 80s, it was cemented as like the strongest karate. That's what they wanted to portray it as, the strongest karate there is, which we have these massive open tournaments every 4 years. Everyone is invited to come along and fight, and you fight in the Kyokushin style. In the 90s, then it was like cemented its name as Kyokushin's the strongest karate style. And then obviously Oyama died 94. And it's just gone on. I mean, 94, that was a long time ago. That I think then, like I said, I've been doing it 31 years. So that's like 3 decades of training. And I've seen the shift go to this sport karate of knockdown. And because of my background door work, I was doing the real stuff, the real fighting stuff. So I diverged, whereas I'd been a tournament fighter for 10 years and I was fighting, competing regularly, but I was also training for realism and the actual fight stuff, practical karate. And the two training types, they don't coincide very well, because you can't train for a rule set and then you can't train to work your autonomic flinch response to grab, headbutt, gouge and take someone down, which isn't allowed in a tournament. So I diverged a bit and concentrated on the real aspect of training. So that's where I'm at now. And Kyokushin is my base. Kyokushin is the style of karate I do. I cross train in lots of other stuff. But my whole shtick is your karate has to be able to defend you outside. If your karate doesn't work outside against 2 or 3 attackers, then you're not, in my opinion, you're not really doing true karate. You're doing a sport version of it.
Yeah, and again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I mean, I just want to sort of make sure.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
But like yourself, what I found was that having done the competitive elements for a long time as well, the training for the environment that we were working in, because again, that doesn't being a bouncer doesn't mean you know all types of violence at all. It's just one aspect of it, you know. So in that time frame, like yourself, the training, the focus of the training had to change to suit the environment that we were working within. And that's really the difference. I mean, that's what I found fascinating, because the mechanics of a punch are the mechanics of a punch. It's the environment that makes it different, and the way that has to be translated. And that's what I found fascinating.
Well, a perfect example of that is, you remember in the film Braveheart?
Well, which particular part?
Well, you remember the beginning when he comes back to his village. He's a grown man. He comes back to the village.
Oh, yes, they throw rocks at each other.
The guy drops the rock on him, and then they're doing a competition of like who can throw the rock the furthest. And Dougal, or whatever his name is, threw it the furthest. And he said, yeah, that's good. Can you do that under pressure, though? Can you do that under duress? Which they do, and they do it, and he misses, and he throws a little stone, bang, and catches him in the head. It's that same thing. We can punch a bag, and we can punch a tournament and do, but change the atmosphere and put it outside for real. Little bit of drunk, slippery floor, low lights. If you go down, you may never fucking get back up. So, you know, change that. Then it changes you. Then your adrenaline's going. Then that punch, same mechanics, but because you're now having to deal with the adrenal dump, it doesn't fire the same. You know, you miss. It goes all over the shop. What you think was your hardest punch ends up being a little sissy slap. There's a lot to it, isn't there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's fascinating, because that I like to call it consequence of action. That's one of the things that so many people sort of misunderstand or don't consider at all. And that's one of the fascinating things, is because in a tournament setting, there's a referee, there are rules, there's an understanding, there's a basis that we're not going to take it too far. You know, we're there, we're not trying to kill one another. Once you get outside of that, and it's in an environment where there are no referees, that all sounds cheesy, but the point is, you know, people die from single punches, you know, all of the time.
You see it all the time. One punch killers. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So the fundamental sort of mindset of that is there has to be a shift there, but that's all part of the wider picture, which is fascinating, and that's where it's interesting with people who have gone on these kind of journeys. They end up sort of, if you like, going full circle almost. And that's what sounds like you're doing now, if you will. You're bringing that side of your knowledge and your learning back into the fold of of your karate roots, if you will.
And it is like I like to think I've done a similar. I'm not quite there, but I've done a similar route to what Jeff Thompson done, because it was Jeff's books, Watch My Back, that inspired me to be a doorman. I was reading that as like a 16-year-old schoolboy, and I was like, and I felt like a kinship with him, whereas he did karate. He was scared of confrontation at that time. He started doing door work, and he was feeling my techniques are not working in this real environment. And things were adapted, and he became this like an animal that was feared but also respected. And he went through that transitional period into, I mean, you speak to Jeff now, he's very much about the Bhagavad Gita and about spiritualness and not fighting and ascending that violence. I like to think I'm on my way there, but not quite there yet. I still get pulled back down into it quite quickly, but you do come full circle where you think, I don't need to fucking fight you. Listen, I've been training for 30 years. I've had thousands of fights. I really don't need to fight you because there's nothing to prove. And you can rise above it. And that's an ego thing as well, isn't it? When we were all younger, especially me when I was on the door, it was very much a me versus you thing. And if someone wanted the problem, I'll respond to it because it's you versus me, and I want to see if I can win. And as as we get on in life, I'm 43 now. What are you? You must be about 44, 45.
Oh, I'm the wrong side of 50 now, my friend.
So we get older, don't we? When we're like, you don't need to do that crap anymore. You don't need to be involved in it, because I know if I hit you, I'm gonna damage you. So there's no point. And you could kind of rise above it. And I think that's that full circle where we want to go.
Yeah. I think for a lot of us, that's the journey. Yeah, I mean, one of the things about Jeff and the fantastic original book when that came out was, like yourself, I mean, I was fascinated by it, and that's what prompted me into writing and things as well. But that first book, even though I'd been training for years at that point, nobody'd ever really explained to me the psychology of it, the head, that side of it. And Jeff did that so well in a way that made absolute sense. And I think that was really what made him as successful as he was at that point.
I think he's very gifted with writing as well. He's gifted with words. Yeah. And it was the fact that he put, I mean, what we all experienced, what everyone experienced in that environment, because Jeff wasn't the first doorman, and he had his people like John Maynard and them guys that he looked up to, but he was one of the first to put it into words and made you think, oh fuck yeah, oh yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Oh my, and he was nervous as well. I remember when I was nervous in this fight, and it just articulates it better, and everyone could relate to it. Yes. And I thought, oh yeah, this is a fantastic journey. So I started door work then. I was 17 when I started door work. I wasn't actually old enough to go inside the pub. I had to stay outside it. And then I started going up and training with Jeff, going up to the BCA and Peter Constantine, training with them guys. And it was their work that opened my eyes to, all right, well, this is sport karate that I've been doing. This is real karate. This is real violence. It's a different type of hat, different thing to deal with.
Yeah, no, totally. So moving forward then, in regards to the festival itself, have you got any sort of ideas in mind of what your sessions are going to contain?
Well, I know. I mean, I don't know how many sessions I'm doing there, because we've got the Kaizen thing just before it.
Yes, obviously Kaizen's coming up as well for those that are interested in that fantastic event. That grows year on year and is amazing. So, excuse me.
So I think
there as well.
I think the festival will be basically an extension of that. So at Kaizen, I think we're doing a session on knockdown to introduce people to the style of fighting Kyokushin does. Okay. Excuse me. And then I think that the main arena bit will be my version of applied karate, how it needs to work outside.
Okay.
So it'll be the same type of thing, I imagine, at the festival. So as we get closer to it, I don't know how many other Kyokushin guys are going to go. We could set up an area where there's like just a sparring. How long are the sessions? The hour sessions, or?
We've still got to figure some of these things out because it's a first time event. But we're aiming for sort of 50 minutes to an hour. I mean,
Yeah.
You don't really want to shave too much off of that, because then it becomes really, you haven't got enough time to get into it.
No. And you don't want to be 2-hour sessions neither, because, there's a lot to get around, isn't there?
That's right. Yeah.
So I think what we'd probably do is an introduction to Kyokushin. So like, how we hit, how we come in with the low kicks, how we generate the power. We might have some shields so people can, because I tend to find a lot of other karate styles, they hit but don't hit. They hit and pull everything. And because that's how their competition works, that's how they used to train in. They pull everything. And as I was talking to Craig the other day, you can't change that when you want to do it for real. You can't change all your life to pull a punch, and then when shit goes down for real, you're like, oh yeah, I'll hit him properly. You won't, because your brain won't differentiate. You'll still subconsciously pull the power in that punch. So we'll do some bag work, get people to really hit hard, really let go, look at the mechanics of Kyokushin, how it works. And then probably in another session would be that taking those Kyokushin elements and putting them into real time. So no, we're not going to stand like this and punch to the body outside. It'd be more of a arms out, or maybe arms down, staggered fence, bang. And now we're going to put the same techniques in, but we're going to aim for the jaw. So that type of thing, I would imagine.
Yeah. No, brilliant. That sounds great. We've got Adam Davies coming along, and he's bringing along his power cube, which I don't know whether you've seen those before. They basically measure your shots, and they're fantastic.
All right.
So we've got one of those coming along.
That would be interesting to do.
Yeah. Hopefully gets to have a play with that. So yeah, it will be interesting to see the different versions of things and how they
I'd like to do that, because that's something I've always thought about, because with Kyokushin is a powerful style. I'm quite a powerful guy, punching and kicking. It'd be nice to compare it and see how much power it is, because we only judge it of, if I hit you and you've fallen down, it was a good shot. If you haven't fallen down, it obviously wasn't hard enough.
Yeah. Well, obviously you've got to take into the procedure sort of timing and all kinds of other stuff as well that actually make it effective. But the power generation from it can actually be measured like this using that power cube thing. So it's great. It'd be interesting to see how that.
Yeah, that'd be cool to have a look at.
Okay, so in the meantime then, my friend, for those that want to, if they want to get in touch before the festival itself, how can they reach you?
Well, we've got our usual socials. We've got our Facebook page, which is Terry Birkett /Backstreet Karate. All the other ones is normally Terry roninway.uk. As I said to Craig the other day, no, just Google, really, which is what a thing to say, to be honest, in this day and age. But if you just Google Terry Birkett, it normally comes up with karate stuff, and it'll take you to one of the pages.
Fantastic. Okay, so I'll try and make sure I put a link in the comments to that as well, so that people can find you through there. And thank you very much for coming and chatting today, and we look forward to seeing you.
No problem. Yeah, we'll see you there.